All right. If you've been following the chronicles of the 40-foot desk, here are the components. So this is the left-hand side of the room. There's some openings on here for, well, that, I'm sorry, just one on this one. This opening is for, there's an outlet underneath that for electrical cords to come up, and then you can see that goes around the skirt board on the window. We scribed in the angles onto 1/2-inch plywood. You see template sitting over here, and this angle was cut off of the template. It's white oak. Let's just call it 2 inches thick. It's not going to end up 2 inches thick at the end here, but that's where we started, a little over 2. This one has been sanded all the way out through 400, and actually I polished all the epoxy fills out to 15 micron. I didn't wet sand them, just polished them out to 15 micron. And now I got to go on the next one, and this one's upside down right now. So they've been clamped down because they did start to bow a little bit. They've been clamped down to straight edges. Take the bow out, and if you get to see this, but I'll loosen this off a little bit. Now that they've lost the moisture out of the bottom instead out of the top that we opened up, now they stay flat. So what I had done was flip them over upside down so that the bottom could start losing moisture instead of the top that had been router sledded and planed off, where it's losing so much moisture. To keep them flat, let some moisture come out of here in this greenhouse environment here, and it flattened them right out. So when I stopped working on them so that this top opened up surface isn't exposed to the light and the heat, I flip them over upside down and just clamp them down against, the straight edges on the sawhorses so that they can't cup up, which is what they would do if you just left them exposed to the light and heat and sun. Until right now, I'm going to oil this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you guys down, and I'm going to oil it, and I'm going to show you what it looks like, because this is going to be pretty spectacular. And this is just a first oil treatment, but what I want to stop is I want to stop the ability for this to keep losing moisture out of the top. Eventually they'll be tongue oiled. Let me check your view here. Now I'm going to take you over and show you close up, but let me see if I can just get it so you can at least see what I'm doing. Okay, that's better if you stay like that and don't fall over. I know that they look wonky, but as far as some of these thicknesses go, but just trust me, this is flat, 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 flat. So I'm going to oil them up with mineral oil, straight mineral oil that you can buy at Tractor Supply. And the reason that I want to start treating them here is, number one, so they stop losing a ton of moisture out to the opened up area. Number two, because I have to move them to the customer's garage, and I don't want to be oiling them in her garage. So I'm going to oil this up, and I'll show you what this product is going to look like when it's finished. You'll get tongue oil on it in the end. Right now, this is going to suck this oil up like you've never seen. So I'm really going to flood it. These gallons are pretty cheap. This is the way to go as far as treating large pieces. Now I'm probably still going to have to do a little bit of work on this slab as far as when they'll have I have to cut mortises in here. It's going to have floating tenons, and if there's any difference between top and the bottom, I mean along the joint, I'll just plane it out. And the reason I'm putting so much on right now is that this is really going to suck this up. So will you be able to see this? See the medullary rays in it. There was some tannins in the wood, so you can see a little bit of staining from the tannins. I think it's going to give it a pretty cool look. You can see right through the epoxy. The epoxy is crystal clear. You can see the medullary rays on this right here. It's pretty spectacular. See the medullary rays down here. And you can see over here, you can see the difference between the oiled surface and the non-oiled surface. So it kind of gives you a good look at the difference between the two. And I'm going to start working on that slab. I'm going to flip it over, start sanding it out through the grits, and really depends on what's on it where I'll start, but just to give you an idea. Oh, look at that. Look at the figure in this. Look how clear the epoxy came out. You can't even see it. It just looks like an open crack now. Epoxy polished out so clear. All these, they look like open cracks because the epoxy is so clear. And this is what they're all going to look like eventually. And I'll video each one as I treat them up. Look at those tiger stripe medullary rays, just unbelievable. It's just spectacular piece of wood, absolutely spectacular. But anyway, so you know, if I have to go all the way back to 40, I will. 60 is most of the time where I start, but we'll see. If I need 40, I will. And then it's just an 80, 120, 220. I've got different kinds. I do have 320 and 400. Those are more polishing grits, so you're not really doing anything there. And then I also have 15 micron film. So it's typically a real good sanding with 80, going over every line double and then overlapping halfway. And then pretty much the same process with the 120. And then when you get to the 220, you can kind of speed up a little bit. And then polishing out the epoxy here and there. But that's the process, and it's a slow process because you don't want to put any swirls in it. If you can see the epoxy, actually you can see right through the slab here. If I didn't take my time, especially with those heavier grits, you'll put real big swirls in that. But this is polished like a piece of glass. I mean, like I don't know how the light's going to show up, but you can see right through that crack. And all these cracks, they look like they're open right now because the epoxy is so clear. And that's because you take your time with the random orbit sander, going slowly. You know, as you're moving across, you're going slowly so that it doesn't create any of those swirls or anything like that. So that's what they are going to look like as a desk. Oh, sorry, I'm going to fall down. Some of my freaking slabs over here. They'll get a tung oil final finish, but that is what they are going to look like as a desk in the customer's house. So absolutely spectacular. And right now I'm just going to let it flood. This is not a finish coat. This is a beginning coat. Just going to let it sit there. I'll get some out on the edges out there and make sure that's all covered. I'm going to let it soak in while I'm working on this one. It's probably going to get a bunch of dust on it. I'll wipe it off later. Right now my main concern is to stop the water from coming out of here on this side. That's just because it's so open pore right now. Wow. Look at those tiger stripes. Pretty awesome. Sorry about the reflection from the greenhouse above. But yeah, it's and all these slabs are like this. It's gonna be pretty stunning. Love the organic nature. Kate did a bunch of shaping there, so just wanted to show the first one, and we'll go from here. So I'll be posting up more as I go. Look at that. Look at how unbelievable the figure is in this. Just gorgeous. So that's, hold on. I can't turn my hand that way. Yeah, so that's where we're at. And go to work on this one. Probably beginning to end, it probably takes an hour to hour and a half. Depending on how bad the scratches are. It might take 2 hours to sand one slab. Right all the way through the grits, and do it slowly enough so that you can get no swirls in it and you can get your epoxy that clear. So, and that's without wet sanding the epoxy. I could have wet sanded that epoxy and even buff it out. But I don't think it's necessary on these. I think for this desk, I think that's more than sufficient. And I love the way it gives that, you know, the epoxy's clear, but it gives it that black look as opposed to, you know, looking like a crystal clear glass because of what's inside those cracks. It's really gives it nice contrast. So that's it. Hope you guys are having a great day.